Folks, we are live. I have live because we just wouldn't shut up pre-show. This is the amazing stuff you got looking forward to on your Valentine's Day evening special. Okay, listen, it's what we can do when you're married. You get a little extra. It's like your wife has already seen enough of you. She's like, yeah. You go on, do your thing. Rachel's gonna be in the next room working out, getting healthy, and we're gonna be here sharing with you all. So, God bless you, each and every one of you, for joining us.
Be
Uh,
warned, there might be some pounding. Kellyanne's working on watercolors again.
oh my! But Rob's on screen, so you know what the pounding does not involve. Just saying, just saying.
Just saying, it is Valentine's Day. There's a lot of
It is
pounding going on.
Valentine's Day. We didn't put
Well,
it.
speaking of Valentine's Day, so this is appropriately a joint effort.
Hold on.
I got a drawing kit for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
and this was one of the practice drawings I made.
Oh, nice, a
The-
cardinal.
But she did the coloring and the texturing, and she's
Oh.
the one who brings this to life. And this is her watercolor.
Okay.
Very
So
nice.
what we did is that she's at the point where she wants to practice her technique, so not the drawing. She can draw quite well. Um, her drawings some of her drawings are in my How to Make a Fantasy Sandbox. But so what she bought these books with outlines so she can practice her technique. And then, with my fancy ET 8550, we tested, hey, let's try printing directly an outline onto this. And we took one of my drawings, I scanned it, kind of did it so I could print it on the paper. And sure enough, it printed on here. And then she could use this as a skeleton to practice her technique.
Very nice.
I'm thinking about maybe when I do my next project, I'll maybe try drawing some monsters or something myself, and she'll color it, and I'll put it in the book.
Very cool. See? And folks, by the way, the only one person did real prep for today, and that was Rob. Just going to throw that out there today.
Oh, come on! I just threw together something in 5 minutes. I didn't even have the books with me when I logged on.
That's all I'm saying is Rob is the organized one.
I am putting up another layer in the core palette.
There will be. It's been confirmed. There will be more pounding tonight.
It will be pounding.
Yes, she has a palette that she has to put another layer on.
Okay, we're gonna.
I'm the zero prep guy tonight, so I just believe in zero prep. We just come in and I'm going to roll on random tables, basically, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hey, Fugu says you're the penciler, she's the colorist. You just need an inker, and you can have a.
Well, that's a good point, Fugly. Hey, Kellyanne, we just have to get a inker, and we'll have a threesome.
Oh my God!
There we go.
There we go, folks. You heard it here first, and that was.
Rob is on fire tonight. That's all I can say.
Rob is holding the show up from his position.
Mostly, I roll 5s and 6s. Enjoy these 18s and 19s while I still got it.
Rob's on fire. So before we delve into whatever we're going to delve into, we have it came out yesterday. Deadspin, Deadline, they're all the freaking same. That Netflix is going forward with the D&D live action series. The one that was initially going to be on Paramount was stillborn when they sold, what was it, E1, whatever their movie division was. That just went out the window. But now Watsy is still pushing it, or Hasbro is. Hasbro apparently still has some kind of a movie TV.
Hasbro and Entertainment, according to the article.
Yeah. So they are moving forward with, and all we know so far right now is that it's a Forgotten Realms setting for this. We don't know any of the actors or actresses, We don't know. We know showrunners and stuff, but we don't know where in the realms. I was told that Roll for Combat is saying that they've heard that it's going to be based on characters from Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe I actually have to spend a few gold coins this Valentine's and buy myself a digital copy of Baldur's Gate 3. I've only heard good things about it. I'm not tearing the game
Well, wait a
apart.
minute, Eric. You mean you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3?
No, no, I don't want the time sink. Yeah, I'm gonna. What's gonna
You're
happen?
retired.
No, Rob. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get Baldur's Gate 3, and then there won't be an uploaded video for like a week and a half.
Well, that may be
Yeah.
true, but here's the good news about Baldur's Gate 3. It's not like World of Warcraft where you're going to be grinding at it for a better part of a year. So there's that at least.
All right. Well. All right. So I will be joining the Baldur's Gate community. Whatever. No, just no druid bear sex.
Just be ready for everybody wanting to have sex with you in the game.
You know what? That isn't
Yeah.
even real life. I mean, I understand it's fantasy, but come on. Yes,
So
yes,
the last-
David. No, not the characters from the bear sex scene. No, I don't think Netflix would quite go that angle. However, the showrunner did work on was it Deadpool and Wolverine? So you know it could go down strange corridors. It could.
The last video game I played, I think, was Halo. One of the Halos when my kids were young, and I think with Eric too. It's like it's just I can't do the time sync. I would get nothing done. Nothing would happen. I would just sit in my underwear all day, eat cereal, and play video games.
Right, and I did that when I was out sick for 11 months from work. I was grinding Anarchy Online and EverQuest 2. And I was like, I could do this in retirement. And then I retired and went, oh my God, I can't. I don't ever want to do that in retirement. Stay
Well,
away.
again, the good news with Baldur's Gate 3, it's not like Anarchy Online or World of Warcraft. I mean, there are definite, it has a pace to it, and
Okay.
it feels like it is. I have set it aside for a period of time and then return to it like a book. So yeah, you could treat it like a book.
Okay. So yeah, but again, I was like, yeah, I can wait. I can wait. And I listen. I haven't gotten every once in a while. I'll find out. Oh, look, there's a deal on. Oh God, one of those game sites where they sell like dirt cheap games, and I'll go in and I'll get all the old like gold box games that will play on Windows now or whatever. It's like I don't. I wind up not even downloading them. They sit on my account. I could be playing Eye of the Beholder, and I don't. And that was great fun back in the day for me.
I played Diablo for the first time the other day. Bought it for $10 off a good old game.
Okay, well, Diablo was a lot of fun. I think I played up to Diablo 2. But there's a lot of like clones of it for your phone and your tablet that are very similar in a lot of ways. And again, they're great time sinks. But I've learned that I no longer want to download certain games from my iPad because if I do, I'll just lie in bed. Rachel will be snoring, and I will be, playing some clone of Diablo, killing shit and going, why? What? Oh shit! It's 5:30 already, and the sun's coming up, and what? Because your brain it becomes like a drug, and I know
Well, for me, it's games like Hearts of Iron, Civilization that I can spend, and realize, oh my God, it's 7 o'clock in the evening already, and I just got up in the morning, and those are the games I got to watch out for. But I find in contrast games like Baldur's Gate 3, and I played 2 years ago. I played another one that was like a AAA title, but it had a story and it had an end, beginning, end, ending, middle, and end. I find they're very enjoyable to play, but they also They're like a book. Once you're done, you're done.
Okay, I mean, although I have heard, I thought that Larian had said they weren't going to do any more content for Baldur's Gate 3, but now I've heard rumors that, or read it online, that they are. It's not a pay for content, but they are doing some additional downloadable content for the game.
They're updating the game.
Okay.
I think
mean,
I think they're really. My impression is they're really tinkle pink about the reception of it, and hey boss, I have this idea, and this is what it's going to take. The boss goes, well, shit, we can afford that. Do it. You know.
well, in a way, it makes sense because Larian has been cut loose from WotC and Hasbro. So if they are going to keep a significant amount of their new customer base, they got to show that we're still loyal to you. We'll still support a game that we're not directly making a new cash infusion from. Although I'm sure they're still getting paid for the digital copies that get sold, but they're like, we will still support it even if we're not charging more for the support. And I think that
it's a great way to stay connected to fans. That
Yeah.
if they should come out with another project or something else, it's a great way to just foster goodwill, something Wizards of the Coast doesn't really understand anything about. That they can say, hey, we've been updating, and so it makes them very likable in that sense. That says, hey, we'll come back and get something from them if they make something.
Yeah, and that's something else. They did try a recent patch where they improved the modding capabilities of the game too. So,
if you ever want to watch a fun show about game development, there's a show called Mythic Quest with Rob McElhaney, and it's like a MMO game, and it's really fun. It's on Apple. It's got 4 seasons to it. And it's really funny about how they develop. How it's very much in the vein of if you remember The Guild.
Yes.
It has a lot of that kind of funny humor of characters and what they're all like and that kind of thing. So it's highly recommend.
All right, I'll have to check it out. I actually have Apple TV. My gosh.
I know it's surprisingly good for science fiction and stuff I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, For All Mankind, that was one of the earliest series that got me to keep my subscription up. Severance is weird but interesting. Silo, I thought that's better, definitely an above average adaptation of a literary work.
Okay. Yeah, we should. I guess we should one day do an episode of this where we actually go my top 3 streaming series. But sadly, what I find with most really good streaming series is they start out strong and then they end with a fucking whimper.
They can't stick the landing.
They can't stick the landing, and you're like, oh my god, I thought I was gonna watch like a perfect 10, and then you're like, well, after grading on a curve for that horrible ending, maybe a 7. It leaves you so unsatisfied. In a way, it reminds me, even like Babylon 5. Babylon 5 didn't really start out strong, became really strong, and then they didn't know how many seasons they actually had left, and they had to wrap up 2 seasons in one, and then they got the next season, and it's like, oh shit, well, we just need...
Yeah, they had one really good plot line and one couple not so good plot lines.
Yeah. The filler was obviously filler, and that was a shame. But all right, so all right. Well, here's one I'll throw out here. WotC is hiring a world designer position over for their Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought when I saw that, I was like, well, they haven't done a new setting since Eberron, and then I actually looked it up and I went, oh shit, they've done a large number of settings since Eberron. They don't go anywhere. They're not memorable, but just a quick one. Since Eberron, Nenter Vale in 2007. Never heard of it. Ravnica, which I don't know if there was anything other than the core setting. Exandria in 2020, and Theros. And I'm not a 5e player, but I generally pay attention to setting stuff, but they're not supported, so they're kind of like one and done. And then Strixhaven and Radiant Citadel, which again are one and done. It looks like though WotC is trying to get a new setting along the lines of Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, or Ravenloft, whatever, something that they can build upon that isn't just one and done. And yet they can't find the staffing from within the company to fill the position. They got to go without.
You know, Eric, I think you would like, if you like my Black Marsh, I think you would like Nintel's Vale.
Really?
Yeah, it could have been easily the. It's just it's a region. I wouldn't say it's the size of Black Marsh, but it fits on a letter-sized piece of paper, and the names are evocative. And when you read the capsule description, you can see the possibilities for adventures. The only issue was it was for D&D 4E, so anytime they come out, except for the last few products where they really tried to pivot, the first one was so, okay, you have a little bit of role playing, 2 hours of combat, a little bit of role playing, 2 more hours of combat.
That was
You're
for
concludatory role playing. That's it. You know,
I enjoyed Ravnica. I wish that. I mean, I don't know if I expected anything else to follow from it at the time, because I think everything was pretty much just one and done with, because they were putting out these magic card, thematic type books. But I enjoyed Ravnica as a read, as just the world that's built out, and the amount of time I think that went into it was pretty good. So, I'd play in that.
Michael says,
what's funny is I looked at the job listing and I think, holy shit, I qualify for this job. All the stuff they were looking for. I mean, I don't know if they were interested in what I did creatively, but the technical aspects that they were looking, all the bullet lists you put in a job listing, I've done.
Well, why didn't you apply?
Yeah, Rob, you could be downsized in a couple of years.
I'm going to be 60 this year. I thought about that, Eric. It's like if I do apply, get hired, I'm going to be 65 when they downsize me, and I'll be 2 years away.
You're ready to retire.
Retirement, and I'll be making more there than I would be making at my regular job. And
there you go.
Not much more, but more.
Right. Yeah.
What's the risk?
Well,
other than the fact I would have to move to Seattle.
Yeah, that's.
Is it? Do they have to move? Do you have to move out there? Is that one of the conditions?
I don't know. I don't know if it's remote or not. If it was remote, it'd be a win. It would be a win-win.
So Michael says that he believes that those are all either Critical Role settings or Magic the Gathering settings.
Yeah, Ravnica was Magic. So was Theros.
Okay.
We're Magic the Gathering.
Strixhaven?
Strixhaven was also Magic the Gathering, I believe.
Yep. Magic the Gathering, take on Hogwarts, basically.
Okay. And Radiant Citadel?
No, I think that was independent. That wasn't Magic the Gathering. That was a collection of different creators who put that together.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like there was one science fiction author who made an anthology series in the 70s, or maybe it was the 80s, but it was like a tavern, a multiversal tavern.
Oh God, what was that called?
I don't know.
I know. Oh, damn!
It was after Thieves World, because Thieves World pioneered that whole idea.
Oh, I remember it because I remember the damn book. I can almost picture the cover, and why can't I remember what it was called? All right. No, Mr. Gunn, he's not getting a job with a new game company. Not unless you consider WotC a new game company.
Breaking news here on the Tavern.
I looked at the job listing at Wizards of the Coast, and they usually have like 10 or 12 items they're looking for, and I checked all of them off. I have experience publishing. I'm published in the industry and a bunch of other things, and
You should have done it. You should have just to see what they would say, just to see if it led to another, a next step or something. Just for funsies.
I don't know.
No.
It's just that I'm hard at work on my Into the Majestic fantasy realms,
Yeah.
and if it does as well as I think it does, then yeah, I didn't need to apply for that.
You should have just climbed the ladder all the way to the top, and at the end just go, nah, I don't want it.
Yeah, it's like, forget about it. I
Just
thought about it.
Just, nah.
You can't pay me enough.
That's right. Oh,
You wish
there's a point when you
that
do that.
far.
You're just an asshole, being an asshole, and I don't want to be that asshole.
Oh, damn it, Rob. The internet would be like, wow, Rob Conley trolled Watsy. Could you believe it? Look what he did.
Besides, if you get in a position like that, you have to be a coordinator more than an artist pursuing their creative vision. Yes, you can provide leadership and steer the direction, but ultimately your job will be to meld the creative vision of, anywhere between, a half a dozen to a dozen people. And I did that when I ran a live action role playing chapter. Check that off, guys. And it may not be bringing the dollars that job would, but I want to work on my own stuff.
Is the job? Let me just ask a question about the job itself. In other words, they're wanting to create new settings? Are they talking about expanding on settings that already exist, or is it yes and?
They don't say.
Well, they're vague. They don't display that in the job listing. But it's clearly required somebody with world building skills, and it's clearly requires somebody who can work with a team. So my guess is they're the project leads to whatever, and they'll have, just like Chris Perkins, the guys behind the new edition, or Jeremy Crawford.
Do you think this is VTT only?
No, I think it's from the description. It sounds like for the whole WotC thing.
Right. Now, I would suspect it is going to be VTT forward, though. I mean, wait, I should caveat that with assuming the VTT lands, and right now the Monster Manual is kind of released, right? If you have D&D Beyond, we've all seen the articles that the Monster Manual is out there, and people are already bitching and complaining that there are parts of the rules that no longer. Rob has a physical copy. Hold on, I'm gonna embiggen Rob. There's Rob and Big, and by the way, if I was gonna get the Monster Manual, that's the cover I would get. That is good looking art.
Yeah, I recommend if you get the 2024 D&D books, get the alternate covers. They're way better. I wasn't able to score a copy for my DMG, but the player's handbook is equally nicer than the regular one.
Well, I think the Monster Manual is the one that really stands out. But I'm hearing like apparently, correct me if I'm wrong. I just watched a video on this tonight, but humanoid is no longer a description. So, like, what? Goblins are now like fae, and gnolls are fiends, which means that a lot of your spells are now broken because what would work on humanoids don't work on humanoids anymore because they're not humanoids. This was done because humanoids are now any race that kind of looks human.
So small goblins are small fays.
Yep.
No.
Mr. Cuthbert, you cannot find orcs in the book. Orcs are now in the player's handbook.
I feel like that was a setup question.
Orcs are in here. You are to combine them with the NPC templates here. Now,
right.
I'm going to be upfront about this, guys. Most of the sentient races in my Majestic Fantasy RPG, I treat them no different than elves or dwarves. If you guys have my copy of the Majestic Waterland, you know I have an entry for elf, dwarf, halfling, orcs, lizardmen, reptile men, serpent men. Okay, so because I come from playing 20 years of GURPS, and that's how I treated these characters in GURPS. Those characters are GURPS. I didn't have a monster listing for them. I made them up like I would any other human or dwarf or elf NPC, and that's what those became the opposition for the player. So I do this. I did the same thing in Majestic Fantasy. So I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem though with relegating, gnolls to being fiends and goblins being fae. That's kind of like, I mean, are you telling me the only sentient races, culture forming races, are found in this book, and the rest
Yes.
of the sentient race are monsters? Because that doesn't, to me, that's not very D&D-ish. If I look at the original monster manual, it's very obvious that some, quote, monsters are people who form tribes. They form nations. They form kingdoms even,
Are all
Well,
your
we're-
characters, do you consider that, are they humanoids in Majestic Fantasy?
Well, I don't.
I mean, is
Yeah,
that the term you
basically,
use?
if they're so basically the metaphysics behind my thing is that in the beginning there were just humans and elves, okay, and the gods gathered the humans and elves into the first city, and they taught them. Well, that was a mistake because some of the humans and some of the elves grew jealous of the god. They wanted to become masters of creation, and basically, in the fullness of time, they decided to rebel, and they became known as the demons. And they won their first battle, and they destroyed the first city, and they enslaved humans. Okay, and then they formed magical rituals and genetic experiments in a science fiction term. And that's how come we have goblin. That's how come we have lizard men. That's how come we have 36 or 24 creature or races that could capable of forming cultures in the original monster manuals. That's how I explained it back in the AD&D days, and I carried that forward. So that's my rationale, and since I run sandbox campaign, that worked out better than just treating them as special monsters because it made for a more interesting challenge.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great Old Ones has a point with the new rules. Sleep was once a fantastic spell for goblin control. No more, I guess, since they now have Fey ancestry. Um, there are, and there's already an errata being published for the new edition. Sorry, the not new. It's 5e 2024, the Forever Edition that will never go away. But there's already errata for it, and you would think that the errata should have been figured out because it's not like typo errata. It's spells that no longer work the way one would expect, or actions that combined have an effect that apparently nobody foresaw. With 2024, you don't have the play testing that 2014 had.
They go as far as make merfolks elementals.
What?
Yeah, I had a thought. I was running down the list because one of the things I had to write up is I had to come up with a whole undersea setting for because I have this ocean in the middle of my map, so I made an undersea setting for it, and I had a lot of merfolk, and I just realized, what are merfolk considered as? Elementals. Lizardmen. Let's see what lizard folks are considered as. Elementals.
Lizard men are considered elementals.
Medium, elemental, neutral.
What
Lizard folks,
elemental
sovereign.
ability do they have?
Huh?
What is their elemental ability that they're elemental?
Earth.
All right,
Earth.
so
Okay.
would that mean that a protection from elemental spell or scroll would keep them from this has consequences that seem to not have been fully thought out. It really does make the old rules incompatible with the new rules.
There's no way. Gophers are elementals then, and fish are elementals. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's so crazy.
Yeah, hobgoblins are fey, but that figures. Oh, that's bugbears. I bet bugbears are fey. Fey.
Yeah,
In
David, how
parentheses, goblinoid.
I mean, so I guess, well, I don't know. I don't know if Rangers still had abilities to do more damage against goblinoid creatures, but I mean, just call it D&D.
Bullywugs. There you go. Let's
What's
see what
that? Bullywugs?
Yeah.
Or what elemental?
Well, bullywugs are fey.
My gosh.
I would have put them in the element. It's like a random generation. I see.
That's right.
Where do you were they picking sides like an elementary school punch bowl team? All right. Oh, geez.
I would maybe put lizardmen maybe in the beast category.
No. They're too smart for beast.
No, too smart for beast.
Too smart for beast.
Are aberrations.
So if we think it's too close to being human, it's now all player character classes, and if it's far enough away from human, now we got to put it in all these other categories that kind of almost don't fit. And again, all right, we got to the end of the class now. Bullywugs. What team is getting bullywugs? Faye? No, what about elemental?
Here's one of the bird races, Kenkus.
Yeah.
And and I think there were actually a somewhat popular PC race in the 3.x days.
Yeah.
Monstrosities.
Kenkus are monstrosities.
So Kenku, I would put Lizardman in monstrosity, or is that insult to Lizardman? You know, I would put troglodytes as monstrosities. Kenku, noble-looking creatures, that's a monstrosity. Listen, I'm not asking to bring back mongrel men. I'm not asking for that. But I mean, this is. Oh my God, I don't blame Mike Merles for kind of being happy to trash 5e now. He's like, I'm gone from the company. I can point out its mistakes, and my God, there are some serious mistakes.
Yeah, so myconoids make sense. They're a plant. I mean, I know they're fungus, but you know, if they don't have a fungus,
plant is close
enough.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Are they fungi or are they fugly? Sorry, Fug, I had to say it.
Well, Fugli's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy. You wouldn't believe it.
Zahugans. Did I say that right?
Zahugans?
Yeah. That right way to say it?
Yeah, Zahugans. Sure. Yeah. What are they?
Fiends.
They're fiends. So now basically what this is coming down to is if we've given it a category, it's okay to kill it without thinking and without remorse. But if we gave it a race in a player character book with the PCs and it's out of the monster manual, you better think twice, because you could be killing somebody's father or mother, sister, daughter, brother.
Threekreen. I think I said that. The insect people?
Yeah, that's Threekreen, yeah.
Threekreen.
What are they listed as?
They're monstrosities.
They're monstrosities.
Okay, I can see that.
But and again, we're going through stuff that where PC races in other versions of the game, and I mean, I always thought that if a code if an animal could use an improvised weaponry, it's getting close to being human-like. But where do you draw the line, Watsy? Where do you draw the fucking line? Apparently, right through the middle of the book, because So,
Kobolds are dragons.
Okay.
wait.
What the hell?
Kobolds are dragons, but lizard men are elementals.
I mean, when in my majestic, when I'm writing up my majestic, I know I'm kind of tooting my own horn here, but when I'm my majestic fantasy stuff, I didn't have kobolds for a while, but when I started doing Black Martian stuff, I wanted to support the traditional monster with Black Marsh opposed to my more quirkier majestic waterland. So I have kobolds there, and so but to me, kobolds are as halfling are to the demi-human and the human races, kobolds are to my lizard men, reptile men, serpent men array. They're the small guys.
They're a
Don't require,
subspecies.
well, they're not a subspecies. They just the demons made them because they're smaller in size, didn't require as much food, and unfortunately, they're not as good in combat as their larger cousins. But for whatever reason, they decided to make the human reptile variants. They made a small guy, just like they made halflings.
But if that's the case, then that would be a PC race. But no, dragon. Does it breathe fire now? Does it have a horde of coppers and iron ingots?
And what are dragons classified as?
Dragons.
The dragon is its own class. It's its own.
So it's classified along with. I'm sure dragons are going. Yeah, we picked last. We had to pick kobolds for him. Jeez, we could have picked lizard men, but they were picked before, so we had.
And yet,
kobolds.
Dragonborn are humanoid.
Oh, wow!
Page 187.
Well, lizard
Dragonborn.
men could be
type
dragons.
humanoid.
There's Komodo dragons.
Right. Azimars are humanoid. Dragonborn are humanoid. Dwarfs are humanoid. Elves are humanoid. Gnomes are humanoid. Goliath are humanoid.
Wait, what the hell?
Halflings are humanoid.
What's a
Orcs
Goliath?
are humanoid. Humans are humanoid.
Goliath, a giant. They're like almost like a half ogre, but they're.
Okay.
At least that's how I see them as.
Okay, so now what are ogres? Are ogres now?
Oh, good point. Good point.
Yeah. I'm assuming Ogrillians are gone.
Well, I like some Ogrillians.
No, they're giant. Giants are a category.
Okay.
That relationship between orcs and ogres is verboten. No more Ogrillian love children between the two.
Well, the other reason I did the whole thing that every other sentient race, other than the elves, are a modified variant of human is because, the orcs. It's hard for other cultures to get along with orcs because the problem with orcs is that their aggression, whatever aggressive. You know how you met aggressive people in our lives. Well, that's the low end of the scale for orcs, and unfortunately, it means that tribes of orcs have a tough time getting along with their neighbors, and I try to paint it as a tragedy. It's not destiny because I had orc PCs in my campaign, but the orc PC represent those orcs whose aggression, they were on the low end of the bell curve for the orcs. And so, the question for the PC is, what do you do about it? And for the answer to most of the cultures in my world, unless the orcs make trouble, they try to leave them alone. But if they make trouble, they have to deal with the orcs. And but it's true of all the cultures, whether it's human versus human, or human versus other races, or other races versus
Right.
other races. It's the
Everybody
same
is
story
suspect.
that we've been dealing since we were all living in caves.
Everybody is suspect. You can distrust anybody. They can all do
Right.
something terrible.
Wow.
Right, and everybody has the capacity for good. The
That's right.
only the in my world, the only place where I like to have irredeemable evil are demons.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
Okay.
and the reason, I'm not a fan of Milton, of Lucifer at the end, even though I enjoyed shows like Lucifer. For when it comes to my own creative effort, demons are that way, because they maim their soul to the point where they cannot do but they can't help but do evil.
Right. They're corrupt.
They're utterly corrupt.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I gotta give social might have won the night. Invisible stalkers have always been canonically ex-wives in my campaigns.
Oh, that's even more true in Facebook, in social media world.
Oh God.
That's what trolls are. They're invisible stalkers.
Well, that's a long tradition in RPG campaigns, starting with the Egg of Coot.
All right. So who or what is the egg of Coot, Rob? Do you have the proper egg of Coot story?
I'm sorry I didn't read it recently, but I'm pretty sure when Dave I'm pretty sure when Dave Arrington was running a Napoleonic campaign, he had a detractor who was running his own Napoleonic campaign and talked shit about Dave all the time. So hence, when he ran the Blackmore campaign, he named one of his chief villains after that guy.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Mike. Reacher season 3 is next week. All right, I can suspend my active disbelief and enjoy a series of Reacher. Uh, First season was really good. Second season was good. So I'm guessing the third season will be blah, but we'll see. You know.
Well, speaking of third season of Invincible was really good.
I just started first, but I'm behind anyway on everything. I don't watch a ton of TV, but I've watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of Invincible, so of first season. So I may continue.
I haven't caught it
Yeah,
yet.
I wasn't prepared for much out of it, and then I got really into it. I thought, wow, they really get comic books.
Well, I'm surprised with the level of the. I mean, you got Stephen Yoon, you got all the voice Michelle, several great actors doing voices. So that's kind of a cool benefit that I enjoyed.
So,
Okay, Jackson says the books he's heard are far better than the series. I mean, I will say with the movies, I didn't enjoy the movies that much, but I do enjoy watching like the YouTube takes where they just show like the best scenes from the movies, and you go, oh, if the whole movie was like that, it would have been really good, and I wouldn't have to imagine that an actor that was 5'7" was playing somebody as big and powerful as Reacher.
I enjoyed Reacher, the first one, better than I enjoyed Reacher 2, the second one. So,
Okay, so
and I had never read the book, so I guess I didn't know until actually Reacher, the TV show, came out, the streaming show, that Reacher was supposed to be much taller. So I didn't. So it didn't affect
yes,
the way I viewed the movie.
yeah, it's just that I will say the actor that plays him in the TV show um, fills my mind's vision of what that type of a kick-ass character would probably look like. I think he fits that. I don't know if Tom Cruise kind of fits that mold.
I really
Uh,
enjoyed that opening scene to season 2. I thought that really did the character justice. with the whole mom and the ATM and the guy.
Oh yeah, that was a good opener. That was a good opener for it.
Rob, have you read the books?
Okay.
No,
No.
I read some Tom Clancy back in the day, and that was
Yep.
enough. Oh no, and then I read Griffin is his name. I read his part of his Marine season or series, and then it descended into melodrama, and I wasn't interested. His first couple books in that Marine season were interesting because he tied in a lot of obscure historical details like China Marines and stuff in there, but then it got melodramatic. So speaking of history,
Yeah.
I have a book recommendation.
All right. Let me embiggen you, Rob.
So this is Beowulf. This is the Free Trader Beowulf. It's about the history of the Traveler RPG. It's not an academic work like Playing at the World, but it's very thorough, and it covers, the development of GDW and gets into all the different releases and stuff. All the different third-party licensees. Has nice graphics. Let's see, like they had this thing called the land grab where
Oh, I
different
remember.
third-party
something about that,
publisher
yes.
got different areas. So so if you're interested in all the different ins and out of traveler history, and plus at various points in the book.
So where did you get that, Rob? Amazon or your local store?
I ordered off of Mongoose, but you can get it off of Amazon, and they give you checklists if you're into collecting. And I am cited as a source, a very minor source.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I was surprised when I stumbled across it.
You didn't get a heads up?
Let's see.
They didn't tell you were going to be a source in the book?
No, they just went into my blog and quoted it.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, I think it's cool though that a game's been around long enough that you can do this kind of historic, work of telling the tale of from where it came from and where it's at, and that's just kind of a cool thing for it to to exist.
Well,
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be on Mongoose UK, David, I would guess. Free Trader Beowulf, as I go into Amazon.
I think this is.
It is $60 in hardcover.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Came out December.
Yeah, but hardcore Traveler fans don't care, right? I mean, if you really enjoy the game, it's nothing to grab it. I've never played Traveler, so I don't have any point of reference for it other than the fact that it's been around a long time.
And it's by Shannon Appelkline, and Shannon's the one that did was it the Dungeons and Designers series of books. Great reference material if you want to know the history of your hobby. He did a really great job doing that. If you're on drive through and you're looking through any of the classic products from the TSR era, there's often stuff from Shannon on the bottom of each description. Oh, so here Rob found it.
This is the source they cite. Robert S. Conley, 2019, A Tale of Two OGLs. I gave Eric a link. But yeah, it's an article I wrote on once upon a time, Wizards of the Coast released the open game license and made the text of the D20 system lesson open content. And then I explain, I go in another paragraph and I say, this dynamic is still in play in this hobby and industry. And I talk about Traveler and Cepheus and RuneQuest and Legend.
Oh, okay, cool.
Very nice. Very nice.
So
my name is in there. What the hell?
Mr. Gunn, every other Friday is the random party generator. And it's a random party because we literally don't know who, aside from myself, is going to show up. And somebody once said, "Well, wouldn't it be better for the called a random generated party?" And I'm like, it doesn't abbreviate to RPG, and then we would be at a loss. So
Yes, branding.
um,
Do it for the brand.
right. The folks that you see on screen are generally those that are in our weekly. Currently, it's our weekly gaming group. I'm gonna give a little peek behind the screen. It was every other week until Joe decided that he needed to be creative. And when I say creative, he is creative, but needed to focus his creativity. So we are,
Yeah. So
yeah,
he can do two things in his life.
yes,
So he wants to be creative and drink.
and and and
He can be on the show with us and drink, or he can be creative and drink. He can't do.
he can't do both. So
And I can
I'm
get
not
away with
saying
that because he's not here to defend himself because he's no
yes.
longer on the
There you
show.
go for it, Rob. Go. This is the Rob Conley show. Ba-boom, ba-boom.
Rob's taking no prisoners now. He's like, well, he's not here. We're gonna get out. We're gonna get after him.
I'm not saying that Joe might not show up on one of our Fridays, but it'll be the exception to the rule. None of us have an issue with Joe. We abuse him. He abuses us. We all abuse each other. But literally, it's the guys, and that's not being sexist. Happen to be all guys. It's the guys from the Tuesday night 2E by the book with 3 dozen pages of house rules and with so much game lore that we need a recap every session. But we're picking on Joe because he's not here. We pick on Mike. We pick on Bad Mike. We pick on Matt Jackson. Oh my God, him and ladders and gnomes. Oh my. And yes, we did send him gnomes one time, but don't ask him. I don't think he ever.
Hey, I will have you know that Snickle Jackson is a character in the Majestic Fantasy realm.
Oh my God, that
Bonus
is awesome.
points to those people who can find him when I release it.
Nice.
As for Greg, Greg makes it when he can, but he also has young children that need attention. So we don't. This is like a drop in, drop out. Occasionally, we allow people like Bad Mike to join us. You know, occasionally we got to lower our standards for the Friday night show to allow Mike in, but you know that's okay.
You've already lowered them enough by letting me in, so we're at a pretty base.
We're always glad to have you, Flint.
Yeah. No, but that's why you got the banter that you see between us, because it's the same banter we've been doing on Tuesday nights. You know, and I always think in my mind that's what a gaming group is about, right? It's when you're gaming with friends and people that you are compatible with, it brings the game to another level, and it makes it more than just rolling dice. That is actually the socialization aspect, and I think we are blessed to have it, and we're able to take our pants off, so to speak, and let it all hang out every other Friday.
But we are also about gaming, and we have a gaming question by the Vatrin.
I want to clarify that I am in fact wearing pants.
What is the opinion on the illustrious panel on the OGL now?
All right, I got to go back and find that word question. Oh, here we go. The illustrious on the who wants to start this one, Rob? Shall you or shall I or Flint?
Oh, you know, I got a zillion people opinions on it, but you guys should take it first, really.
All right. So here, my opinion, as an occasional publisher, the OGL fiasco caused Swords and Wizardry Continual Light or Continual Light to essentially become stillborn in its revision. Because although legally most tell you cannot revoke the OGL, you need the money to defend that. And the way the American civil court system is he who has the largest pecker of money tends to bully their way through the shop. And that's what WotC planned on doing. And they didn't expect people like you, viewers, the consumers, to be all that concerned about it. They just think that you wouldn't give a shit. And you gave a shit. And that's why they blinked. They didn't blink because they gave a shit about what I was producing or Rob was producing or Paizo or that's why and by the way, that's why all the major publishers, when I say major, I mean third-party publishers that aren't WotC have all gone to their own license. Right? Nobody wants to trust the OGL. Now, in the end, they're working off of, generally speaking, they're working off the SRD that's now released under the Creative Commons license. But nobody wants to publish under Creative Commons because then you're not controlling your own work. And that's what Rob will step in a second. But Rob is going to be the person that's going to have the not quite legalese, but a lot closer to the version than I will ever get. But
You're doing good, Eric.
okay, but here's the thing. You know the concept is a good concept when you look at all these publishers, whether they're using the Orc license or whether it's Matt Finch with his own license for Swords and Wizardry, or it's Kelsey with her license, or Wizard Tower Games with their own license. The concept of an open license allowing you to publish material to support another publisher is a huge concept, and it's what makes this community, and when I say community, a publishing community, thrive. So it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It pulled everybody together, and it was an awakening. And I think in the end, it's going to be good. So I'll now pass the torch on to Rob as I catch up on the comments.
Well, it's Flint. I mean,
All right, Flint, go ahead. I just saw Rob's hand go up.
To me, first of all, right, it was very Watergate-ish, the whole thing. It's like, we're going to do this in the middle of the night. Nobody's going to see us. Nobody's going to do anything. And they just thought, well, we're just going to just do this bank job in the middle of the night, and we're going to take all the stuff. And then they found out very quickly that they weren't going to do that. For me, I would rather do everything I do in my zines is system neutral. I would rather go system neutral with just about everything and put in there. It's like, don't use terms like, even if they're in the SRD, if you want to use armor class, that's fine. Whatever you want to use terminology wise. But if you just do that, say, look, I'll just say, look, they're hard to hit, or they're fast, or, that damage doesn't do as much. So for me, just doing system neutral stuff is, to me, just a way for me to go, just because then I don't have to obey any masters in that regard. I can just kind of make it up as I go, and everybody else can decide for themselves how they want to treat the material in their own game.
All right, Rob. Do you
Oh,
want?
okay.
By the way, I'm going to address Mr. Gunn's question real quick. The OGL is not kaput. The OGL still exists for D&D 5.0, and 5.0. The SRD has also been released under the Creative Commons. The new version of D&D, it has nothing to do with it. It's not with copyright, because remember, you can't copyright rules. It's the presentation of the rules that are copywritten. But they're telling us that they're going to come out with the new SRD with the new rules that will be released under Creative Commons. It happens when it happens. All right, Rob, full is yours.
Okay. Well, I am okay. So even I am not so much a fan of the OGL specifically as I'm a fan of open content.
Right.
I started my day career involves programming software for metal cutting machine. The manufacturer of metal cutting machine. So I started in the late '80s doing that. Went to college in the middle '80s, and so I saw the whole not OGL, the
Creative Commons.
the whole open license in the
Uh,
software world to take root in the 1990s, and saw the benefit. So when Wizards released the OGL in 2000, I thought, great, it's going to work out really well there. And but there was always something in the back of my mind, having a single license with whatever quirks it has. Uh, I don't think it's the healthiest thing. It would always be better if we have alternative approach. Some may be looser, some may more radical, and we didn't have that. All we had was the OGL. And the problem with the OGL, beyond Wizards trying to mess with it, was the product identity clause. A lot of publisher would go, uh, anything in this book that's taken out of the SRD is hereby declared as open content. The rest of it is
oh yeah.
product identity, and they do not mark anything specifically what's open or not. They leave you guessing. Effectively, they get to eat the cake of the open content of the D20 SRD, but they don't let us eat it because what part is open and what part's not. So they effectively closed up their product. Luckily, most of the people who were doing that was doing with IP heavy products like Babylon 5 or Conan or something where you didn't really expect to use bits and parts of it. And but the benefit of the whole Wati fiasco is now today we do have a diversity of approaches. You can still have the original open game license with all the body of material that's been released under it. You now have Creative Commons, and it's not so much, all we have is the 5e SRD under Creative Commons. But that gets us the terms, so that's important. But now we have an example of somebody using Creative Commons. So other people are using Creative Commons now. So that's healthy. I'm using Creative Commons not share like attribute for my stuff. And then we have the orc license. Now they're adopting a stricter view that they want game mechanics to be open. So if you use orc, you have to make all rules in your product open content. If that's clearly stated. While in the under the OGL, somebody like Cubicle 7 and Adventures in Middle Earth can make that whole chapter on journey rules. They can make that product identity because that's their own original subsystem.
Right, or even like Troll Lord with the siege system, right? Isn't that's not open?
Yeah, the siege system not open, but under the orc license, if the D20 SRD was under the orc license, then Cubicle 7 would have had to make your journey rule open content, and as well as the siege engine and Troll Lords if they used the orc. But not everybody agreed with that. Okay, I don't like to use the Creative Commons share alike or the orc license if I don't have to, because I believe I'll share my material. It's up to you to share what you want to share out of my stuff. If you don't share anything, I'm not going to dictate that. And when I used to do open source software, I would always use the Berkeley over the GNU license. And then then we have OGL fixes like Swords and Wizardry Elf license. So that it's pretty much like the OGL. It has all the advantages and disadvantages of the OGL, but it's not controlled by Wizards, not controlled by anybody.
Right.
So any content released under Elf is good. And I guess the only thing I would left, I want to say, if you use Creative Commons, not share alike, but well, actually two things. I just remember one more point I want to make. But if you use Creative Commons attribute only, what I recommend is you release your book copyrighted. just like you normally would, and then make a separate document that has whatever rules and all your stuff in your book. It could be the entire text of your book, which I did for the Island of Pied. Um, but it is that document that you released under Creative Commons, because Creative Commons doesn't have a product identity clause. So if you try to have a work and you say this, it gets messy when you try to say this part of a work is Creative Commons and that part of the work is not. So what you do, the best way to do it, just make a separate document, say that's all Creative Commons, and share what you want to share in that one. And then the last thing is Ars Magica. All the Ars Magica books that I'm going to point at my shelf, all those books down in there, all of them for Ars Magica 5th edition are now under Creative Commons, but share alike. So anything you based on it, whether it's the rules or the lore, you'll have to share it as well as open content. But it's also the most expansive in that the entire product. So if you have an idea for the Tribunal of Rome, guess what? It's fair game to use now under Ars Magica, which I think it's cool. And I hope once I get my current project out of the way, I want to mess around with a D&D OSR version of the Ars Magica stuff, because I think it would work really well. It'd be different than the usual dungeon crawl stuff, but I think it'd be a lot of fun to play under a D&D related set of rules.
All right. Well, I told you Rob was going to have the best, mostest, biggest description of it. Now, Rory has a question. What even is OGL, Open Game License? Why does WotC not have full copyright over all D&D? Obviously, I support OSR, but I never understood this aspect of tabletop RPGs. All right, here's the thing. You cannot copyright rules. You can only copyright their presentations. So, if you look at Crawford's Cinnamon Publishing, like Stars Without Number, Worlds Without Number, that whole series, it looks a lot like D&D, but he's rewritten it all, and it's not under the Open Game License, although he's releasing his SRDs now under the Creative Commons. But it is a rewrite to a large extent and a reinterpretation of D&D rules. They're recognizable if you are coming from D&D. They are familiar, but they are different. What the OGL or the Creative Commons and the System Resource Document, the SRD, says is you can use passages verbatim. You don't need to change them or their presentation in order to use it. That is huge. Now, if you remember if you're old like we are, we remember Mayfair Games, and Mayfair Games would publish things as compatible with AD&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and the use of the AD&D trademark, not a violation of their trademark, and it's not disputing their rights because they were trying to be compatible, pretty much under copyright, but they got sued, and even if they were legally right, they weren't able to survive the lawsuit. The SRD/OGL was a way to say, hey, third-party publishers, we want you to support our... And the reason why WotC did it wasn't necessarily purely altruism. It wasn't like, we want a vibrant third-party market. They realized early on that support material, like modules, were almost like a loss leader for a company their size. They weren't as profitable as other material, so therefore farm it out. What they didn't expect and didn't necessarily foresee was that people were going to go, hey, I can use this to rewrite older rules or to create my own game system. They didn't foresee such things. and therefore the OGL.
Well, to be fair, they did foresee it. They didn't think it would be as popular as it was.
Right. Fair enough. But they certainly, I don't think, expected to see simulacrums and clones of older editions come out. Little history. Osric published. Now Matt Finch is an American lawyer. UK with Stuart Marshall. Now, why in the UK? Because the UK has different copyright laws, and there was a legal safe harbor for them to publish in the UK. And WotC kind of sent a quasi cease and desist, which was promptly ignored and never followed up on because there wasn't anything for WotC to do. And once Swords and Wizardry, once Osric came out, which was the 1E clone simulacrum, and by the way, Osric was published as a resource for publishers. It was, you want to be able to create compatibility with 1E without having 1E? Well, we got a game for you. It's Osric. It's 1E with all the serial scraped off and just say, made for Osric.
Only one thing, don't forget about Basic Fantasy, because Gunnerman took pretty much the same risk.
Yeah, Gunnerman did the same thing. Now, Gunnerman with Basic Fantasy did something that, when you look at it, you can certainly see the third edition roots a lot closer. He kept closer initially to what was 3E. I guess in presentation, it played like basic D&D essentially.
Yeah, he didn't make it stack compatible like Catholic and Sage, where he actually made it, play like BX.
Yes.
D&D.
And so now here's things that if you were an early observer, reader, purveyor of OSR material, Labyrinth Lord, which is basically a BX clone, one of the early complaints about Labyrinth Lord was the experience point charts. Because people are like, that's not the chart from the books. Well, there's a reason for it. Because while you can't copyright the rules, you can copyright formulas. So if the math was mathing exactly throughout the book, their legal harbor, their safe harbor might not have been as safe. So that's
actually, you can't copy the actual table. If it's a table,
okay.
If it's an arbitrary table full of arbitrary numbers, which the experience point tables are, then that's copyrighted.
So that's why Dan went off and did numbers that are close but not. So I mean,
I was going to ask, if you use the formula to create your own table, it's not the same, right?
Right. Well,
but there are some arbitrary breaks in the original tables.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't perfectly follow a formula.
No, there are times when Gary just went, "Oh, I'm not going to double." This one, I'm just so there is it isn't like 5e where you can look at it and go, "Oh, there's a progression." It does have a little bit. So that's that's a little bit of the history of it, and the open game license. By the way, people forget this. The open game license was released with a sister license, the D20 license. The D20 license allowed you to show product compatibility. It was almost like, oh, great! It's not published by WotC, but it's got that stamp on it, and that stamp lasted until products that were a little risque started coming out under that license, and that one got revoked relatively early.
It got revoked. It got altered.
You can't
It got revoked when 4E came out.
The D20 license, I thought, was gone before that.
Yeah, it's a trademark license.
Right. Yeah. Once what was it? The Book of Erotic.
No, they changed it. They added morality clauses to the trademark license.
Okay, I thought
There
because
weren't morality clauses before that, but the erotic fantasy got them added. And then when the for D&D 4E came out and they announced their third party uh,
the
license,
GSL.
the GSL, they sunsetted the D20 trademark, and then suddenly every D20 publisher had to scramble and scrub the logo off their set.
Oh,
So the, that I have nothing to add to the history.
mm,
But why would anybody use the an open game license? Like for example, this is the Island of Piade. I had released this under Creative Commons share alike, or not share alike. Uh, you have to give me credit for it. But you are free to use the content of this book, not the art, but the content of this book in any manner that you see fit. Now, why would I? So, what the Creative Commons or the OGL or ORC does, if this was, say, back in the 70s or 80s, and you wanted to use this, you would have to come to me and say, Rob, I want to use your book. I'll say, fine. Let's have our lawyers together. We'll come up with a license agreement. I sign, you pay me money usually. Or if I'm Stephen King, just give me $1 and you can make your film. And but we would sign a formal agreement. Well, what an open game or an open content license does is me giving you permission to use my content under certain conditions. So you can use this. The condition is you got to give me credit. That's it. What I get out of it, because you're not paying me money, what I get out of it? Well, by giving me credit, you're advertising me
right.
more so. And I don't want to sound totally because I enjoy sharing my stuff, but I generate goodwill. Look at Rob; he's sharing his stuff. He doesn't have to share it, but he's sharing it, and that generates goodwill. Now I'll tell you the amount of people that use Black Marsh for a serious project, I can count on two hands because it takes time and effort and money to make a serious product. But people appreciate being able to do that,
Right.
and so that's why you do it. And it builds a sense of community because we're all sharing freely. And maybe they like this one encounter, one village I have in here, or they can yank this village, stick it in their own setting, just give me credits, and they're done. Makes things that easier.
See, you're giving me ideas there, Rob, because I can go ahead and do a whole zine on something in there. I'll just do a whole. I'll just flesh out a whole thing for you there. I'll just make ones because summer's coming, so we need some good island adventures or stuff like that.
Exactly, because I may talk about let's see. So I have this place called the Ruins of Stable Port, and I give a few details, but it's only this much.
Mm-hmm. What
You want to
page?
write a whole zine about the ruins of Stable Port? It's
What
all
page?
yours.
What page is that? I'll look it up in mine.
Page 22.
All right, page 22. I'm going to mark it off. You may see it.
Yeah, and there's the Fortress of the Lich Lord. There's another one that might grab. That's on page 20, and the last one that might grab your attention, the Tower, Bone Keep, page 19. All
Okay.
of those three are classic adventure locations, dungeons, so to speak.
Okay.
Now, the Fortress of Lich Lord might be a bit big to chew off for one zine, but the Bone Keep or the Stable Port ruins, those should fit in the confines of a zine.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, Mr. Guns. Sable. Sorry, I slur my words.
Well, we all do at some point. Usually when I'm intoxicated, but I'm just kidding. Wow, we covered a lot of ground. I'm not going to keep us on late tonight because it is Valentine's Day, and
Well, can I give one more shout out then?
yes, you
One
may.
last. All right. Okay, so for those who don't know, Harn was written by a gentleman named N. Robin Cosby and published under Columbia Games. And over the years, those early years, it kind of became a creative effort between the two. And unfortunately, in the 90s, they split for various reasons. And there's a dispute over the copyright, but the upshot of it is they did not sue each other. So now there are two separate outfits publishing materials for Harn. There is Columbia Games still doing their thing, and they've done these hardbacks back there, and there's Celestia, which carries on N. Robin Cosby's legacy now that he passed away, and they have released a very nice edition of their version of Harnmaster, and it's full color. It's full color illustration.
I'm going to embiggen you, Rob.
This is no swords and wizardry continue light. This is a lot of crunchy system. It it has a details about the world, but it primarily focuses on players and had spells in here. So it's a very nice book. It is. I'll give Eric the link to it. But if you're interested in a highly detailed medieval RPG that has a lot of useful materials, even if you don't wind up using the system, they have weather charts, they have nice encounter tables, they have a lot of subsystems that are useful for.
Mr. Gun yourself, by the way. Behave yourself. Get a heart condition. Don't tempt me, sir. Get a heart condition.
There you go. There's the link. Oh, Fugly, you're busting my nuts too, huh?
It's what he
That's
does.
His name. It's screw name. I swear to God, Kellyanne, Fugly is a screen name.
It's Fugly,
Fugly. Okay.
as in fucking ugly.
Come on, he's the one that gave us Rob the tote bag, the Russet Lord tote bag.
Yeah.
You should all own.
Appreciate that picture, by the way. Although it did take me a while to get it. I couldn't believe it just went right over my head, and
Yep.
had to explain it to me.
The receipts of the Russet Lord.
Even Kellyanne's laughing at me.
There's a lot of good. I watched a video the other day on Harn, and I think it was about maps, something about maps. And the Harn map is really, really good. I think the Harn map is outstanding.
Yeah, and at the time, I mean, I remember buying the Harn box set and being shocked at the quality of the content, but also how succinct it was in getting to the point, and how realistic the world was. It wasn't like Greyhawk. It wasn't like the Forgotten Realms. So.
Well, it doesn't have a lot of, and from what I understand, does not have a ton of Gygaxian language.
No.
Oh no.
It's very straight on, and eBay has a ton of good Harn stuff on there.
Well, remember the original Cities of Harn that came out in the 1980s gave you 6 cities and 64 pages. Holy crap! But yeah, this is the Harn map.
Yeah.
Still can get it.
There you go.
The nice thing about the Harn map that I really like is with all due respect to Mystara and how they color in the hexes with the different terrain types and stuff, but I like the Harn map approach in that hills and mountains are represented by a see-through texture, and vegetation is represented by color. So you can see whether is it a desert mountain or whether it's a forested mountain, or where it doesn't have any trees, type of mountainous area. That I think is really exceptional, and that's how those of you know my full color maps know that's how I do my maps in the same way.
Well, I still enjoy the Greyhawk map, and the reason I'm doing it too is I'm working on my own kind of little map for little things that I'm working on, and trying to discover new ways of doing that. It's so funny that the first Rob, I thought of you when this came up, and it was it was a map, and they started off with tectonic plates. The video started off with making a map. It says started off with tectonic plates. I thought Rob would love this video. This is exactly what he wants. And it's just talking about how the mountains form. And I said, but you know what though? After I started drawing mountains on my little map, I went, tectonic plates might be a good idea. I might want to draw that. I might want to just kind of pencil that in a little bit,
Yeah, I don't really do tectonic plates, but I studied how mountains are formed from tectonic plates. So I do that. And I don't know why I didn't write about it because I think I wrote that first post before I kind of crystallized how I did it. But basically I kind of, it's a way of drawing lines and you intersect them. Yeah, I got to write that up with a blog post. I got a system now. I got to think about it. Then it's easier shown than described.
Sure.
But yeah, basically you draw the spines of the mountains and then you fill out the mountains from those spines. And the key to make it look realistic is remembering how they collide together, which is where tectonic plate kind of follows into place. But don't forget, there are mountains in the middle of the continents as well. So you got to account for those as well.
Sure. Yeah. It's super interesting when you're there's a lot that goes into it. I respect those that make maps far more now than I used to when you start drawing your own. And I'm like, wow, this has to make sense. This has to make, to me in my head. I mean, look, you got to have certain things, certain places, and you go, okay, it's got to make sense on the map, from a
I do have a tip.
point of view.
I have a different kind of tip though when it comes to map, and for everybody and you, Flint, is go to Google Maps sometime and look at various terrain features. For example, sand dunes or certain types of rivers or lakes or even mountains themselves, and then pay attention to the scale. Because if you use, say, like a 6-mile scale or a 5-mile scale, you will notice that certain terrain features you think that wouldn't show up will show up.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I learned that about sand dunes, and I realized that the map when I made my map for the Majestic Fantasy Realm, they would show up. So I figured out how to draw them. I printed off a Google map of sand dunes in the empty quarter in the Arabian Peninsula and the Sahara Desert, and then I faded it, printed it off, and then kind of traced over it and practiced. And then once I got a sense of how the wind made them flow, I drew my own on my own desert, and it looked great.
Nice.
And the same with mountain range. I had somebody point out, well, those look kind of small. Dude, when you go in there and you actually measure the width of the ridge,
yeah,
it actually turns out not too big. What makes it look big is like when you get into Tibetan Peninsula or the foothills of the Himalaya, they form like a labyrinth.
Yeah.
But the actual mountainous part are thin, so you just got to draw that labyrinth to get the same effect.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, Rory, you saw I put up a sample of Gygax's High Gygaxian prose, and it taught me a lot of words when I was younger, and I didn't use a dictionary to look them up.
Where the hell did he write that?
I think that was in the vault of the Drow. It looks like I found it on Greg Nardia real quick.
I'm going to practice that line because there's an opportunity for the players to go into my underrealm. I might insert that somewhere. You see small star nodes glow in radiant hues of mauve, lake, pilot, violet, puce, lilacs, and deep blue. The large moon of Tumcoite. Boy, I'm going to feed that through Google Translate and figure out how to pronounce it. Catch beans. Yeah, you don't have to actually have Google Translate. You just put the word in you don't know how to say and tell Google to say that in English. And
Yeah.
There you go.
Or put it in somebody's voice. Like you could say, hey, write this as the way Bill Burr, the comedian, would say it. And then it'll write it exactly the way in his voice. So you could pick a voice, a writer, Stephen King, whoever, and it'll figure it out.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Real quick things, folks, on the bottom of the screen. You've said it's been there the whole time. Tenkars-tavern.game/support. Essentially, folks, this is where the affiliate links are going to be living. If you want to go and support this channel doing what you're already doing, you can go there and you put a few coins in the tavern's coffers. We don't do paid advertising. We don't generally do sponsorships. You'd really have to sell us hard to get a sponsorship. I mean, good product, good person, and maybe. But and we don't ask for tips, right? Like we don't ask for super chats. We don't interrupt going support us. So do what you already do. But if you're doing it on Amazon or Drive Through or Humble Bundle, those are the ways that you can support us, and we appreciate it. I appreciate it. Huge thanks to Flint and Rob. Next random party will be in 2 weeks. Next live stream is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. with my wife Rach, Gamers Health. Next week, I will be at TotalCon Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I guess early Sunday. So, Gamers Health next week will be on Sunday, and the live streams will probably be with Don, as Don tomorrow will be with me down in or up in Massachusetts. Down, up, yeah. From where I am, it's up. All right, folks. As always, thank you. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. The convention compendium is coming along. Hopefully, I get to spend a few hours on it tomorrow, Mr. Gunn. I've had no time for myself this week, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just life things. So we'll be updating that stuff more over the weekend. Yes, Rob.
One last thing. I am one print copy away from Black March going platinum. So if one of you out there hasn't bought the print copy of Black March, they're very inexpensive. Hopefully you'll put me over platinum. I mean, you can never tell with their algorithm, but I'm looking at it right now, and it says 999 sold copies. And even though it's a free download, that means nearly 1,000 people bought a print copy. So 20,000 people downloaded the free copy.
Go to the link below, and then go and search for Black Marsh, and then you get a twofer. You get a twofer. You support Rob, you support the tavern. Look at that.
There you go. Why don't you do 2 for 1?
2 for 1. All right, folks.
Nice seeing you, Mr. Gunn.
God bless. Good night.